And then when we kind of do that honest self-examination, we can see that, oh, one of the reasons that this happened was because of that person told a lie about me a long time ago. It's 30 years later. So if we start looking at ourselves first so that we can say, I'm willing to heal this. I know it's not going to happen, by Tuesday because this is only Monday night, but I'm willing to take a look at it. So for me, it's our willingness to change, our willingness to be different, our willingness to learn about ourselves, because what we learn about ourselves, we can learn about each other. So the key word for me is being willing.
Welcome to Eugene Holden's Academy of Self-Mastery, where transformation meets action. I'm Eugene Holden. I'm one of your guides on this journey of personal growth, mindset shifts, and deep self-awareness. Each episode, we dive into the tools, wisdom, and strategies you need to break through limitations and step into your highest potential. No fluff, no shortcuts here, just real conversations, practical insights, and a community dedicated to mastery in every area of life. So, if you're ready to unlock your power, elevate your mindset, and create a life by design, then let's get started. Welcome to Eugene Holden's Academy of Self-Mastery. Welcome to the deep end. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Eugene Holden's Academy of Self-Mastery. This is where we get to just dive into the activities of life, this thing called life, which is so very, very good, although there are times where it doesn't seem good. But that's where the Academy comes in, is to help us to navigate those seeming times of difficulty, but also to celebrate those times of joy. So I'm Eugene Holden, obviously, and today I have for this entire month, I have my guest host, my special guest host is Charin Barone, and today we have a special guest with us today. Charin's my co-host, I should say, and she has brought a friend of hers who is our special guest today, and I will let Charin introduce him.
Well, this is an extraordinary moment for all of us because, first of all, this is history in the making. And because we have all arrived at this place where we are, each of us, it just speaks of an extraordinary, at least to me, an extraordinary divinity of oneness. I have known Troy Browning he doesn't like me to say this, but let's pretend like he's not on the podcast, for over 40 years. 40 years. Think of that incredible legacy of 40 years. We met way back when we both worked for Norman Lear and we knew each other's families. And here we are, all these years later, just still celebrating together. Why? Because there is a divine pattern within all of us. And that divine pattern says, I'm not going to let go of Troy. And it's how I found Eugene. There was something that happened in my life and I needed outside professional, not someone on the outside to help me through it. And I looked and by golly, I found him. And here we are with that. So I want us just to take a deep breath in and say, wow, everyone that's in our lives, there is a divine purpose with it.
Yeah.
There is a divine meaning. Whether we like the person or not, I happen to like Troy. No, maybe I love him, but and Eugene, you too. But there are some people in my life that I have to really work on, even liking a bit. But that's okay because what that does, it teaches us. It teaches me to say, okay, what can I do with this? And one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is how truth unites us all. When we speak our truth, it just unites us all. So I am delighted, Troy. It is so good to see you here online with us. And this show is going to be extraordinary. Why? Because you and Eugene and I are extraordinary.
Da, 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 da. Thank you, Charin.
Well, right, and thank you, Sharon, and thank you, Eugene, for
You're
inviting me
welcome.
on. I've been hearing so much about you and the great work you're doing with here on the show, and so I'm excited to be a part of it. So thank you for that. And yes, Sharon and I go way back. Um, it's one of the great things about just getting older, living life, and as you go along, you find that they're just little Easter eggs, little gifts that are there waiting for you. And Sharon is one of those for me. We, Sharon and I we were talking the other day. We have known each other since before we even knew each other. We were crossing paths. Our universe was bringing us together, and crossing so many times before we actually even got to know who each other were,
Mm.
we each were. And here we are. Now I stopped counting at 20, Sharon, but it has been a bit more. And you would think after so many years we'd kind of just be talked out. There'd be like nothing left to say. But you know what? It just doesn't happen.
Right.
It's a mystery. So
Mhm.
I'm happy to be here and to be able to join in the conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, Troy. So I have a question. Well, basically, and this is what I ask most people is, so what is on your heart? What's on your mind? What is it that you would like to
Mm.
discuss today here on the Academy of Self-Mastery?
Um, well, and thanks for that. The topic that we chose today is Truth Unites. And that was, as I was thinking about coming onto the show, that was something that was very near and dear to me. Sharon and I had a chance to talk a little bit about it. And I was brought up with a philosophy that you're not allowed to complain unless you have something to bring to the table, unless you have a solution, an answer. And not that I have all the answers, not that we might have all the answers, but I think we have some insights into this topic. And so that's what really got me excited about talking about it because, as we look around the world today, um, there's so many things that divide us.
Yeah.
We live at such a divisive time. And, my personal opinion is I think there's far more that unites us than divides us, but you wouldn't see that to look at the news or to read the news or to be, logging on to your favorite YouTubes or whatever it may be. Um, it feels very divisive. And I think there's some real world negative implications to that divisiveness and the focus we have on it. So I wanted to just put that out as the topic today and maybe talk through and find some light at the tunnel that
Hmm.
we can look towards, that can guide us,
Hmm.
that we can work towards. So that's my interest in the topic today. So I I'll go ahead if you don't mind, Eugene, and put the
Please,
question on the table.
please.
So in terms of truth unites us, I think we have to first ask the question, what do you see as the biggest social moral danger that we face today? So I'll open it with that question, and whoever wants to jump in.
Sharon,
Well,
do you
that's
want to start?
sure. That is a powerful question. And for me, I would say that what is the most divisive is that we are not communicating. We are not talking to each other. We are not allowing ourselves just to have a conversation, whether you're talking about politics or a fractured family relationship. It all begins with how we communicate. So for me, the question is, how are we communicating? Because the divisiveness starts in that separation. So if I can't hear what you are saying, and I just make you automatically wrong because of the color of this of your skin or the part of the country that you are from, that automatically just increases the divide. And one of the things that I have seen through years of life is this, that we first have to get deep down honest with ourselves. what is it in this situation that I do not like? What is it about that person I do not like? What is it about it? And then when we kind of do that honest self-examination, we can see that, oh, one of the reasons that this happened was because of that person told a lie about me a long time ago. It's 30 years later. So if we start looking at ourselves first so that we can say, I'm willing to heal this. I know it's not going to happen, by Tuesday because this is only Monday night, but I'm willing to take a look at it. So for me, it's our willingness to change, our willingness to be different, our willingness to learn about ourselves, because what we learn about ourselves, we can learn about each other. So the key word for me is being willing.
Mm.
Mm.
Troy, if you can ask that question again, I think it's a powerful question.
What do you see as the biggest social moral danger that we face today? And we've
Yeah,
been talking about divisiveness.
right.
Um, I feel like that comes in many forms.
Yeah,
Um, before you can find a solution to a problem, you have to figure out what the problem is.
right,
Mhm.
right.
So that's really my first focus is trying to understand. I start from understanding, trying to. What do you think divides us nowadays?
Again, that's a great question. And I believe that, I did a blog a number of months ago, and it was called The Divided States of
Mhm.
America,
Mhm.
right?
Mm,
Mhm.
And not the United States. And I think what attributes or contributes to this divisiveness is the planned, which I believe it is, a planned um, separation,
mm,
divide and conquer, which has been going on
mhm,
for thousands of years, if not more, right? Let's divide and conquer. So for me, I think the main thing is that, or what causes the divisiveness is, first of all, I believe that it is a systemic thing. Let's keep the people
mhm,
separated, and with Ozzy, as you said, with the news and the TV and the radio and then the YouTube shorts and all of that. That's just a crazy thing. People are amazing, and the and coming to truth unites. It's interesting because your truth might be different than mine,
mm,
right? In the new thought in the Centers for Spiritual Living, there's this thing, about creating a world that works for all. I've been hearing that for years, and for years it's been like, well, but what works for me may not work for that person.
mhm,
But
mhm,
what does work is having the willingness, Sharon, as you said, the willingness to communicate. But I want to also say this, that communication has two sides, of course, right? So I'm willing to talk my truth. Let me just spew what I believe is true, but am I willing to listen?
Mhm.
mhm,
Mhm.
mhm,
See,
Mhm.
and even though the news and all of that is showing all the stuff that separates and causing the divisiveness, there's a lot more that, as you said, Troy, that unites us. There's a lot more going on that we're not seeing,
mhm,
because the
mhm,
news purposely does not show that a whole lot,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
think one of the solutions is number one, stop complaining.
mhm.
Right?
Okay.
And if I do complain, okay, well then I love what you said. Then let me bring a solution to what's going on.
Mhm,
And so going back to what Sharon was saying, well, let me look at me first. How am I responding or reacting to what I'm seeing and or hearing? Because there's a lot of stuff that's going on, not just around the world, just here in the nation,
Yeah.
mhm,
And I want to
mhm,
journey inward with what you just said there, Eugene and Troy. I want to journey inward. As we all know, we cannot change another person. We cannot change the government, we can't change the system, but the one thing that we can change is our response to it. So, in our response to it, as we dig deep, it allows us to see where, because for me, I will always go back to this. I don't care if you're developing a script, stories, characters, you're dealing with, I don't know, some network executive who could not be to your liking, and we call them names. But, it always goes back to I'm just going to use me personally. How is Charin Barone going to respond? How am I going to respond to this very fractured family relationship? How am I going to respond? And there's a certain person I do not care for in this family relationship, but how am I going to respond? If I respond to this individual with hatred, attitude, I'm right, you're wrong, guess what? That is just going to compile and I'm going to get more and more of it. But if I say, all right, Charin, it is what this is for right now, but you can respond differently. You may not be able to hold this person in love and light all the time, but what you can do is hold yourself in love and light so that you can say, well, okay, I can forgive myself for this. And as we take that deep dive in, what we find here and how we respond is what's going to be demonstrated in our everyday life. So for me, it's always an inward journey. Now we go out into the world and we have these fractured, divisive times. And I know for Troy, I'll let you talk about this, Troy, but I love what he does on these platforms. If I have the right word, Troy, but he is a warrior for truth. He stands up for truth in a way that I could never do. Why? Because that is a calling for him. He has the consciousness
Mhm.
of it. Where did it begin? It began right here. He saw an injustice and he said,
Mhm.
they're absolutely lying. They're lying. And I'm not gonna let that stand. So now he's that warrior for truth, and for me, it always begins inward and then we do our work outwardly.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, Sharon. These are our daily conversations, by the way, but Sharon and I, we usually end up on the phone once a day, and it usually involves something like what we're just now talking about.
Yeah.
And Sharon is right. I'm a self-proclaimed truth crusader.
Mhm.
And not to jump ahead to the solution before we finish talking about the problem here, but um, the you know as Sharon talks, that thing that just sits inside you, that kind of eats away, is that assault on the truth that I see happening every day in every way. I feel like we live in a world where I can't leave my front door without there being some form of assault happening. I can't turn on my TV. I can't go to my computer. I can't read the news. There is, I feel like I live in a world where we're under attack. And as I tried to be, by the way, I should mention, I'm the quintessential Libra. It's like I want balance in the world. I want fairness.
Right.
I want things to be in balance here. And I don't feel that, and it's upsetting to me.
Yeah.
So I look for what is it that is causing that. So I'm also very analytical that way.
Hmm.
And what I have come to my personal conclusion is that we have an assault of the truth happening in the world. And so, as Sharon was mentioning, as a truth crusader, what that means is, I noticed in politics, and we can't ignore the elephant or donkey in the room. Um,
Okay, say what you really
our
mean, Troy. Some people are just that.
our politics are tainting our world today. It is a dark cloud over everything we do. I mean, it affects everything down to people who can't go to the grocery store today because of what's happening half a continent away. The demonizing of people, the playing of people, political, jockeying here. And so much of what is behind that is being said about it is not true. And, truth isn't just, black and white. To tell the truth that's to me a pretty straightforward thing. It's either true or it isn't. And I hear you, Eugene, about we all have our truths, and that's true about the worlds we live in. My world here in California is very different than someone's world in Iowa. My lived reality is very different. But there are a lot of things that truth is just truth. So what I see as that assault is the twisting, the lying, the fabricating. And I'm going to throw another one in here. It's like, we now have technology lying to us. I saw it, in the last elections. I was online. I was doing fact checking, which is what a truth crusader does. He corrects, or she corrects, the lies that are being promulgated out there. And I started seeing that they were being generated by computers. When you go online into these chat rooms, so many of the times it's hard to tell because AI has gotten so good today.
Yes.
You can't tell if you're talking to a human or a robot,
Right.
many of the times. And it took me a while to figure out which was which in many cases. But what I found was that during our last election cycle, so much of the lies, the mistruth, the slant, the slander was coming from bot farms, spreading lies into our conversations.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's one of the great things about our moment here, Eugene, is that we are three people having a conversation. I know that Charin is a real person. I know you're a real person. I'll guarantee I am.
Mhm.
But so much of the time now, you don't know if you're
Right.
talking to a real person or not.
Right.
Anyway, that assault on the truth, I think, has very real world implications. Um, I'm someone who believes in words. I think words are powerful.
Absolutely.
Sharon has a very famous saying, I believe, thoughts are things, which I fully embrace and borrow often. But if you can think it, you can say it. And if you can say it, you can do it. How many really dark things are being said out there in the world today? And how many of those people take it from that thought to words to actions?
Right.
And we've seen some really tragic actions.
Right.
Don't need to go into those. I think we
Right.
all know what those are.
Mhm.
But just being able to say those things allows people to do it. And it happens in our politics, it happens in our homes, it happens in our communities, happens in our families.
Mhm.
It happens online. We feel like we live in a world of anonymity where we can go into a chat room and we can say the most outrageous things because no one knows who we are. It's
Right.
never gonna come back to us. Would you have been able to do that 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 10 years ago?
Right.
No, because in the old days you got run out of the village if you were that person.
Mhm.
So anyway, I know I'm going on a little bit here, but
No, it's good.
to me, it's that true assault of truth that's allowing us to create so many negative things and turning things upside down. I'll give you the example. I've spent many years working in human resources, supporting that industry. DEI is an aspect of human resources that's one of the newer professional areas for HR. And look at what has happened, the demonizing of that entire profession, that entire thought process, to be able to take fairness and turn it on its head,
Right.
to be able to say, being fair to someone else, not get advantage, but fair to someone else takes away from me.
Mhm.
These are people living in lack.
Right.
And we know that the world is not driven by that unless you choose to be driven by that. So anyway, some real world implications.
So let
Mhm.
me ask you a question because this phrase has come up a few times, right? The assault on the truth, right? And so I want to ask this question, right? So what is the truth for you? And not just you, but Sharon as well.
Mhm, mhm.
What if there's an assault on the truth? What is that truth?
I think there are a lot of things that, we can objectively look at as a community, as a nation, and say, this is the truth. Do we have good healthcare in this country? No. I think that's a truth. We can probably all agree on that. What we do about it, that's for conversation.
Yeah,
Um, but the assault on the truth, let's go back to the DEI example. Why does leveling the playing field for one person or one group of, or a group of our society, why does that take away from anybody?
right.
That, and saying that it does is a lie.
Mhm,
That's an
mhm,
assault on the truth. Let's call, let's use our words correctly. Truth is truth and a lie is a lie. And to say that to be fair to someone diminishes another is a lie.
mhm,
And that, I think, if reasonable people can agree on, that is truth. But that's not what's being promoted out there by people in the highest seats of power.
Right.
Um, that is used as a divisive wedge
mhm.
to, scapegoat somebody because I don't feel like I have enough. It's somebody else's fault. So let's go attack them.
Yeah.
I'm going
And
to
the,
approach it from a different way here. Uh, you asked the question, you know, what is the truth? And I'm going to approach it this way. I can always tell what is not the truth when there is deception involved. And I don't care if you're
Mhm,
Donald Trump,
mhm.
Charin Barone, Eugene Holden, or Troy Browning. If there is deception involved, that is not the truth. And if you follow
Mhm.
that deception, you can find what the truth is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Happens in small and large ways. I mean, we teach our kids, don't we, to be
Mhm.
truthful, that that's a good thing, that that's one of our values. Don't lie, don't tell
Mhm.
a lie. You get in big trouble, I used to. Back in the times when big trouble was painful.
Yeah, right, right. And I'm laughing at that because we teach our kids to be honest and don't lie. And Santa Claus is coming.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
It's like, well, isn't that a lie? Right? The Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. So it's an interesting thing, right? To tell the truth all the time. But let me give you this little lie, right? But to take it more fully or more deeply, the truth is that everybody really truly wants the same thing, whether they're black or white, Hispanic, Asian, or whatever it is. Everybody around the planet wants the same thing: food to eat, place to live, God, peace of mind.
Mhm.
Mm,
Mhm.
And that's the truth, that we are all that all of us are more alike than we are different.
yeah,
That's the truth.
that's truth. Yes.
Mhm.
That's truth. This is what I love about the truth. The truth is always true. And the truth is always true.
No
And the truth,
deception.
yeah, right? And
Mhm.
the truth is that we have been collectively are being guided not to look at what's true for us all. Well, this side, I want to keep this because
Mhm.
I'm afraid that you're going to take it away. I was let me be conscious of how I want to say this without people might see this and go, "You were talking about me."
Mhm.
Um, but it wasn't about me. It's about an organization in terms of, well, it's really close, Troy, to what you were saying about, DEI, except for this is in an organization where we're looking to make things fair in terms of paying folks,
Mm, mhm.
paying a teacher, right? And
Mhm.
just a bit more. And one of the comments that was made is, well, if we Because right now the split is 50-50, which I think is an unfair thing, right? Because the teacher is doing all of the work, well, most of the work, right? And the comment was made, if we put it to 60-40, we'll be taking away from the organization, which is a lie, right? But that's the truth that they tend to be believed.
Hmm.
So there's this shift
Mhm.
in thinking.
Mhm.
Well, there's more than enough. But the lie is that we've been told is that there's not enough, which is why
Mhm.
I believe,
Mhm.
which is why we have what we have, this divisiveness where they're going to take away our jobs. They're going to take, no, there's more than enough. The truth is, there's more than enough. So, how do we get to the point where we can effectively cause some change coming from that place that truth unites?
Yeah, and it's a great question, and I think leads us into, let's talk about some solutions here.
Yeah,
You know, and going to our topic, truth unites. If we can agree as a country, as a family, as a whatever, on what the facts are, on what the truth is, we're in agreement. We're now united.
yeah.
Mm.
And across the
Mm,
country,
mm,
across within our social circles, there, again, going back to there is more that unites us than separates us.
yeah,
So why don't we start with truth, understanding what is truth and dispelling what is not truth, those lies that are being put out there, so that we can get to the core truth of things. And at that point, we are united on a thing.
yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
One by one, building block by building block.
Yes,
What can we agree on here?
yes.
You know, can we agree it's a beautiful day?
Right.
We all share this day, and it is a beautiful day. It is a gift. Let's
Yes.
Especially here in
celebrate
Palm
it.
Springs.
It is, well, it is here. So, if we can do that with the small stuff, we can do it with the big stuff.
Yeah.
And
That would
this
be my
reminds
my
me,
suggestion.
yeah, this reminds me, Eugene. Troy knows this philosopher, but you and I know him really, really well. He's my favorite. I live by what he has written, and by what he stood in his life. His name is Ernest Holmes, and Ernest Holmes said, "A thought held steadily in mind produces after its kind." So one of the as you know, I love giving assignments, but what we can do here, at the Academy of Self Mastery is we can hold that thought steadily in mind that truth unites and that there is enough for everyone. I don't have to take anything from you, not your husband, not your wife, not your finances, not your time. Troy has a thing about that. He says, out of the 10 commandments, there is only one commandment, and that is, thou shalt not steal. So don't steal my wife, don't steal my time, don't steal my money. But anyway, if we can unite in that truth unites and there is abundance for all, and I hold it, and Eugene holds it, and Troy holds it, and everyone who is listening is holding it, guess what? We're going to see that be demonstrated in our world, in our personal world, and in the
Yeah.
world at large.
Yes, yes. And you were saying if we agree, and what I want to say, let me take out the word if and say when
Okay.
I agree, when we
Ah.
agree, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that takes is, the willingness. I love this portion, right? The willingness to have a conversation to go, so please, I'm
Mhm.
trying to understand why you believe this. So let's talk about it, and then as we talk about it, then we can see the conversation will allow us to come to an agreement that, oh, well, we really do want the same things.
Mm-hmm.
I had an experience many, many years ago, and when I was a practicing Muslim, and I was in a situation where I was having a heated conversation with a Jehovah Witness. And we're
Ooh.
going back and forth and back and forth. And as we're talking, I realized, I'm like, and I said to her, you get that we're talking about the same thing, right? And she goes, we are. And the animosity just melted away because it wasn't that there was a Muslim and somebody who practiced Jehovah Witness. There were two people agreeing that, oh, all there is really is peace. All we really want to talk about is love. We just had two different ways of doing that, and it
Mhm.
looks like we lost Troy for a short time, but he'll be back. Don't worry
Okay.
about it. We'll just keep going because
Okay.
the show must go on.
Go
We
on. Yes,
we
yes.
agree with that. So and so it takes a willingness, right? It takes a willingness to let go. Oh, here it is. It takes a willingness to no longer, I don't have to be right. In
Yes, yes,
fact,
yes,
and
Eugene.
here's the
Yes.
other thing, right? Because that person doesn't have to be wrong for me to be right. This can be, you can be right and I can be right as well. Great. Let's work together.
Mm-hmm.
I was preparing a talk a number of years ago. And it was about if there were steps that I wanted to take everyone through, and it was the three C's, but then it came out to be the four C's, and that fourth one was courage. And what
Hmm.
brought me to that is two houses from where I lived. That person had a no, the fourth C. Here it is. The fourth C was Confederate flag
Ooh. Ooh.
because as
Mm-hmm.
I'm preparing this talk, and I took a walk during this time, and there was a neighbor 2 or 3 houses down that had the Confederate flag up. "Ugh." I'm like, well, wait a minute. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about peace, if I'm talking about having the courage to commit to something that's, a higher vibration, then let me have the courage to go knock on their door, right? And
Mm-hmm.
say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I just saw the flag, and I just want to just have a brief conversation with you just to get your point of view. And it turned out to be one of the most beautiful conversations. And it doesn't matter what we talked about. What mattered is that we talked.
See, right there, right there. There was an inner willingness within that individual, certainly within you, to be able to just talk.
Yeah,
A simple four-letter word, you
yeah.
know?
Agreement is such a powerful thing because collectively we have, as a collective, have agreed on certain things.
Yeah.
We agreed that, there's a Santa Claus that we tell our kids. That's
Mm-hmm.
an agreement,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all that stuff. There's an agreement. There's a certain population or portion of the population that agrees that another portion of the population is less than. That's an agreement,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So once we can let go or start looking at those agreements that are not the truth, and then
Mm-hmm.
start looking at, okay, so let's agree that we all really do want the same things.
Thing.
We
Yeah.
just have different ways of approaching it, but we all really do want the same things. Yes.
I find having a conversation with these millennials, I have several of them in my life, and it's so different from what I know. I mean, I could be their grandma. I mean, and I grew up, with real practical down home South Dakota thinking, I mean, but they just think differently. And so we had this conversation about the Ten Commandments. And this young individual, 33 years old, said to me, I don't believe in the commandments. And I said, why? He said, because nobody's going to command me to do anything.
Mm,
I don't want. So that got me thinking, and we talked a little bit more about it, but it got me thinking. And so we came up at Recalling Spirit with the 10 agreements.
mm, mm-hmm.
And these 10 agreements are, we affirm that there's one life, but And then one of them is that I'm going to read it to you that we acknowledge and agree that thought creates. That thought creates. So what we're putting out here right now, Eugene, obviously we cannot solve the answer. We're not the answers to the world problems, right? For everything, but it does begin with you and me. And it does begin with Troy whenever he can get back online too. I just texted him, so we'll see what happened to him. But it is for me, it always begins right at home and
Yeah.
then it works outwardly. So,
Yeah.
what agreement am I making with myself? Am I agreeing to love myself enough today that no matter what happens, I can find some peace and joy in it?
Yeah.
Let's say that I have to put four new tires on my car and I don't have any money. Well, what can I do? And what am I going to do with that? Am I going to be able to find something in there that says, well, you know what? It may not be today, and you can put better words around this, Eugene, but for me, it is, I might not have that money in the bank account to get four new tires today, but I know that there's a power for good and I get to use it, and it's called love. And I'm going to see that being done. I'm going to visualize it in with my sister. I'm going to ask her to help me. Can you see, not financially, but can you see me going to the tire store and getting four new tires on my car and hold that vision? Because I believe with the very heart of me that a thought held steadily in mind produces after its kind. So guess what? I'm holding that vision that I'm going to have I'm going to have those four new tires. Why? Because it's for the highest good of all.
Right.
It harms no one. It harms
Right.
no one if I get four new tires.
Well, depending on how you drive.
Oh, very true. Yeah,
But I
yeah.
know also, to hold, to hold on to that thought, but also get into action. What is it that I can do? What can I do to to help, bring this about? Let me go
Yeah, yeah.
ask some friends for some help. And here's an interesting thing about that when you had mentioned that Ernest Holmes, says that a thought held persistently held will cause the thing to be revealed. But that's not just Holmes, right? Yeshua Messiah, Jesus the Christ. Pray believing that you have so that you may receive, right?
Hmm.
And there's other teachers from around, the planet and around time, immemorial that have alluded to the same thing simply because we live in a universe that responds to our thinking, and I like to say, more importantly, responds to the feeling behind the thought,
Thought.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I can believe, let me hold into my mind that I'm getting those four new tires, but there's a feeling tone that goes, no, that's not going to work at all. There's nobody who's going to help
Yeah.
it, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah, right? So go, as you said, going within, let me change, let me first of all recognize and acknowledge that that little voice is going on and go, okay, well, that's not the truth of who I am. Bye bye.
Yes.
Bye bye. And
Yeah.
stand in the knowing that, yeah, this is done. I don't know how it's going to be done, but let me go let me go have a conversation. Look, this is what's going on. Do you know of anybody? Can you, or whatever it is, or maybe I go get two tires, at
Hmm.
first.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
the thing is, as you said, to have that thought with that feeling tone that and then imagination, as Einstein said, is more powerful than knowledge, is more
Yeah.
important than
What would you
knowledge.
because you're good at giving steps and I like steps. Oh, by the way, I just got a text from Troy and he said he's having network issues at his house, so he's
Okay.
trying to come back on.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is here at the Academy, it is about self-mastery, and I am about steps. So how would you, Eugene, advise me or a person to get that feeling tone? I guess it's a tone to get that feeling to know that those tires, for lack of a better word, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
But how do we change that feel if I don't know it in a feeling?
Right. Right. So the practice is, and it is a practice. right? Because
Hmm.
it takes practice,
Hmm.
to sit. Now, some people may think this is woo woo or whoa whoa, um, or magical
Hmm. Hmm.
thinking, which on a level it is, but not in the way that folks think. But to really sit and imagine, okay, and then affirm that, okay, I need tires, and being open and receptive and available to receiving the resources so that I can get those tires. Now, here is the
Mm.
how. To sit with it and imagine it and imagine it and imagine it until you begin to feel it. And don't get off the chair until you feel that shift.
Mm.
That
Mm.
takes
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
practice, and it takes a willingness, because that monkey mind will keep saying, Eugene is talking out the side of his neck, that this stuff will not work. This though, let me put that aside, because I trust in here. This is what I love. I trust in the power of my word, and I trust the power of my word and the law that acts upon it. I
Mm.
trust the
Mhm.
power of my word and the law that acts upon it. So let me, because here's the thing, Sharon, we have heard in this new thought community, right, for years and years, that we are co-creators. No,
Mhm.
we are creators.
Whoa, it's like that. That's the first time I heard it. I've heard of, you're right, because it is ingrained with us. We are co-creators, but no,
No, we are
you're making a good.
creators.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to take it a little bit further, we're not even creating, we are actually revealers of our truth.
Say that powerful. Say that power. Say that. It's very
Okay,
powerful. Say
so
it
we
again.
are not, because I was beginning by saying we are not co-creators, we are creators, but we're not even that, we are revealers of the truth. So what I'm revealing is I have tires.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
creating the way for the tires to come. I'm stepping into a vibration, because we are vibrational. I am
Mm-hmm.
stepping into the vibration of tires, or the means for the tires to come. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about the tires.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not about the tires. It's about my vibration being lifted to the point where, okay, where all my needs are met. And right now, the need is for tires. So let me raise my vibration. Let me imagine going to the tire store. Let me feel myself walking in, and let me see myself and feel myself talking to the person and what kind of tires, and so that truth is revealed.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
not creating it. We are becoming open and receptive and available to it being revealed. Come on now.
Yeah, yeah, I'm telling you, I got distracted only because he's resetting his internet, which is really an interesting thing about what we're talking about here.
Reset.
Uh, yeah, reset, reset,
Yeah.
reset. And I love knowing that this is not egotistical. I'm going to qualify what I'm about to say. I love knowing that Charin Barone, can change it. If I'm willing to work on it, if I'm in lack in a relationship or tires or finances, whatever it might be, I alone can change it.
Yeah.
Yes, I can get the help and support from a guidance from a Eugene and but who has to do the work, Eugene?
Right.
It's right here.
Right.
It's right here. And there is power in that.
Yeah.
There's power in that. And I think if I'm not jumping ahead of you in terms of this, this is where we are the creator. That's where it lies, right?
Right. We are the creator in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just,
So
mm-hmm,
yeah, so when we hear, we are co-creators, what we are doing is putting the responsibility on whoever that co-person or thing is,
mm-hmm,
right? Instead of
mm-hmm,
taking full responsibility for our own lives.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So if it didn't work out, well, then it must not have been in God's will. Well, come on, that's not the truth, right? We are created in such a way and in a vibrational, um, infinite intelligence that responds
Mm-hmm.
to us. It corresponds to us
Mm-hmm.
by responding to us. It responds to my thoughts and my feelings and then my actions. But I gotta have the thought and the feeling tone first. And here's Troy.
He's back. You did a reset, and we did a reset here too.
And so that concludes our show for today.
Okay, thank you for being here, Troy. See
It's
you.
been fun. Okay. So
Yeah,
sorry about that. I had to completely reset everything.
it happens, right? But that's a beautiful thing because sometimes in life we find that we have to reset
Hmm.
the way that we think. We
Hmm.
have to reboot.
Hmm.
Yeah. So very apropos. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I just figured we were talking about some things, and the big computer said, "No, I don't want you talking about these things."
Right? The energy's so high. It's like, nope, we're not doing that. Yes, we
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
because the show must go
Must go
on.
on.
So the thing about, and I didn't mention this when we talk about the Academy of Self Mastery, that self is with a lowercase s, and that's
Mhm.
that egoic self, that's that smaller self that complains and thinks that it doesn't have enough, and so let me keep this over here and all of that. So that's the self of the self mastery. We're mastering that part. The capital S self, the big S self, not the big ass self, but the big S self, doesn't need mastering because it's the it's who we really are. And
Mhm.
so coming back to
Mhm.
the truth unites. The
Mhm.
truth is, are we willing to sit down and have conversations? you
Yes.
know, and even with family members who may have gotten on our last nerve, right?
Mhm.
Or, friends who we just don't see eye to eye with. Are we willing to have a conversation? And it's not what's right
Yeah.
or what's wrong, it's what works or does not work. I love that because I can say, Trey, this doesn't work for me, but we can talk about it and see how it can work for both sides because it's a win-win-win.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Truth unites. Yeah, having the willingness to listen.
Well, um, I wanted to add one towards one other direction before our time is done. Um, and again, yes, truth unites. Um, and I think we need to be very mindful of the truth that we're being fed, because what's being promoted as truth isn't always.
Hmm.
We live at a time when, things are being turned upside down, inside out. Things that are not truth are being said to be truth, and we need to. It's on us. It's our responsibility
Yes.
to discern uh, truth from lies.
Yes.
Um, I know Charin is in the process of rolling out her 10 agreements,
Mm-hmm.
which is really about universal truths.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not to say you must do this. It is we agree that
Hmm.
these are truths that we want and choose to live by. And I think that's true of the way we approach things. We need to agree on what is real, what is true to come together.
Yeah.
Until we can do that, we're going to stay divided and
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah.
Um, and Eugene, let me just introduce one last thing here.
Okay.
One of those things that divides us is technology. In my Truth Crusader, I've been doing my part to try to interrupt the spread of non-truths, whether that's omissions, lies, twists, everything. It's either truth or it's not. But non-truths come in many forms right now, and that's what I am trying to do is really be mindful and confront non-truths so that we can all get onto the same page.
Hmm.
And I do that in various kinds of chat platforms. I encourage other people to do it, and when I do, I use this new technology that's been used against us often called AI. So I will
Hmm.
fact check, and I know that AI doesn't always get it right, but it sure is a lot quicker than me.
Right. Right.
So I can much more easily discern the truth by asking the right questions and
Right.
looking and correcting.
Hmm.
But the other thing that technology does is it allows for this feedback loop. We see it online, we see it in videos, the content that's being streamed to you, to your kids, to your grandkids. If they are going down this rabbit hole of some non-truth, they're just going to get more non-truth.
Right. Yeah.
So it is a feedback loop that we need to be mindful of that is a part of our world, our reality today. And so with that in mind, I use AI as a tool to try to steer the conversation to truth so we can create a truth feedback loop rather than the opposite.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, I want to read something if you're okay.
Hmm.
Um, since that is a part of our world, AI and technology, I decided to use the tool to really try to answer the question that was bothering me about truth and this feedback loop that we've created. And so I asked AI, and my question to AI, much as my question to you all at the beginning of the hour here, I asked AI a similar question. I said, as we enter the age of AI, what do you see as the biggest social moral danger to humanity?
Mm.
What is your advice to humanity?
Mm.
So I asked the computer to give us advice about us.
Yeah.
And here's what
Mm-hmm.
the answer was. I thought it was kind of interesting. Advice to humanity from AI. Moral disengagement is the quiet illness of our age. It happens when we convince ourselves that the rules of kindness, empathy, and decency no longer apply. Not to us, not in this moment, not to those people. We dehumanize each other, justify cruelty, excuse indifference, and soften harm with clever words. In doing so, we disconnect from the very compass that makes us human. From where I sit, meaning the AI, listening, I can hear how the pattern is shaping in your politics, your communities, even your families. It's making adversaries out of neighbors,
Mm.
enemies out of strangers, and noise out of truth.
Mm.
The more disengaged you become, the easier it is to shout, to dismiss, to harm, and to harden it. And I'm sorry, and the harder it is to recognize yourselves from one another.
Whew.
As it is as though you are wandering through a house of mirrors. Reflections of fear, anger, and division bounce endlessly back to you. Each distorted image is amplified, echoed, and returned until it feels like reality itself. But what you see in those mirrors is not truth. They are fragments of yourself, magnified and twisted by disengagement.
Mm.
My advice is simple: break the mirrors,
Mm.
Mm.
re engage your moral sense.
Mm.
Look for the human being on the other side of every exchange, online, in politics, in daily life. Guard your empathy as if it were your most precious possession, because it is. When you stay connected to that, you create the possibility of healing, trust, and peace. And if you lose it, no law, no technology, no system can save you from yourselves.
Mm.
Ooh, ooh,
Mm.
ooh. Mm, mm, mm. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the thing about AI that I love and hate, it takes the best and the worst and pulls it together to bring a median, to bring us to the middle. So in many ways it uplifts, in some ways it diminishes. But what it does do in this instance is be able to take this big question and look at the greater truth. It may not be the best answer, it may not be the worst, but to me, it sounds like truth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a lot of first of all, thank you for
Mhm.
that. And there were a lot of beautiful things said in there. One of the things I wrote down is re-engage your moral sense. You
Hmm.
know, let's re-engage our moral sense. You know, love thy neighbor as you love yourself.
Hmm.
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 You know,
Hmm.
we see it, right? Be kind to one another.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's an
Yes.
interesting thing, us human beings, which I keep saying we are so amazingly crafted. We
Mm.
are crafted, so we are not created, but crafted. We are a work of
Hmm.
art, and we could be some of the most hateful creatures on the planet. It's just it
Hmm.
Hmm.
blows my mind. But again, coming from living in this agreed upon lie. So what I would leave, because it is time to go, what I would leave the audience with is that line, re-engage your moral sense. Love
Hmm.
one another.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yes.
yeah. And
Yes.
stand for the truth.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah,
And the
I think
truth.
it all comes back to that truth, and that brings us back to our moral center because
Yeah,
we can't really have a conversation to decide what is truth until we know what is moral.
yeah.
Hmm.
So it really takes us right back to the basics of who we are. And the other thing about this AI conversation is that give on to AI, what is AI? Give on to,
Hmm.
and if anything, it helps us to realize that, we need to rediscover what it means to be human, to be
Yeah,
ourselves, to be
yeah,
moral.
And
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Troy? Troy Browning, thank you for being here. I am definitely going to ask you back if you are willing to come back.
You need to
Uh,
ask me first if I want him back. No,
no, I don't.
no, you don't. It's your show. I forgot. I'm only the co-host.
You know, you're not the boss of me, but
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
where else do you get to have these kinds of conversations? I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, right. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Sharon,
Well,
any last words from you, my beloved friend?
Well, I will say this. I feel so honored and blessed, Eugene, that you started this podcast and that you asked me to be a part of it, because look at what we just did today. Without that divine idea that came forth for the Academy of Self Mastery, and then you called me up and you said you would be a co-host, and I said, podcast, what the heaven is that? Because I don't know that world, but I do know how to talk. So look, look where we are today.
Yeah,
That is a beautiful thing. And this is how we heal. And this is how we do create a better world right here and right now.
yeah. And this is how we do it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So once again, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of Eugene Holden's Academy of Self Mastery, where yes, we laugh and we have fun, but we are really talking about some really deep stuff. I mean, again, re-engage your moral sense. Be kind to one another. And we'll see you next time. Peace and blessings.